Good evening and welcome back to the election analysis program. This will be the last program this evening, and our last program to wind up will be tomorrow night at the same time, 9:50. Senior members of the Congress Parliamentary Party have just emerged actually from an informal meeting, and we'll be going to the Congress Party headquarters to try and find out what exactly happened in those smoke-filled rooms. But first, the headlines at 10 o'clock tonight. The Congress and allies are heading towards 235, still 25 to 30 short of a majority. The BJP plus its allies are set for about 120. In Andhra Pradesh, the Congress is literally swamping the June vote. In the May vote, we saw the Telugu Desam doing well, but in June, the Congress is literally sweeping. HKL Bhagat is defeated, and George Fernandez wins.
इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य समाचार इस प्रकार हैं। कांग्रेस आए व उसके सहयोगी दल 235 सीटें जीतने की ओर। भारतीय जनता पार्टी और शिवसेना को 120 सीटें पाने की उम्मीद। आंध्र प्रदेश में जून के मतदान में कांग्रेस बहुत आगे। HKL भगत चुनाव हारे और जॉर्ज फर्नांडिस चुनाव जीते।
Well, Vinod, let's go straight into the latest results position. This is final MPs in the next Lok Sabha, and we have results now on 355 out of 511 seats. The Congress 179 out of 355. The BJP coming second on its own with 81. The Janata Dal 29 still. CPM 19. The AIDMK 11. And others 36. That's the Telugu Desam, still part of the National Front with 10. The JMM 5, CPI 5, all part of the National Front. The BSP is fighting on its own with 1 seat now. RSP part of the National Front and totaling 36. Let's look at the leadings position. These are the trends. This includes results. This is both leadings and those results we've just seen because we get the overall picture here. So we've got information now on 486 out of 511 seats. And the Congress is leading now in 220. It's picked up 3 or 4 seats in UP at the moment, but doesn't seem to be going much further. The BJP is coming second with 107. The Janata Dal 55 on its own. The CPM 29. The Telugu Desam 13. These are all part of a National Front, National and Left Front combine. Others 62. CPI 11. AIDMK 11. The JMM 6. RSP 3. Bahujan Samaj Party 1. Making a total of others 62. Now this projects into the 10th Lok Sabha something like this. Congress plus all its allies put together somewhere around 235. It's very, plus or minus 2 or 3 seats. The left front looks as though it's heading towards 50 and the National Front 85. So together they form a nice little chunk of 135 seats, likely to form. This is projections. That's ahead actually of the BJP and its allies, which is basically the Shiv Sena, which is now heading towards about 120, and other minor parties at about 21. So that's the kind of look that we expect to see inside the next 10th Lok Sabha.
We have in our studios Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi of Bharatiya Janata Party, Shri S.R. Bomai of Janata Dal, Shri Harkishan Singh Surjeet of Communist Party Marxist, and Shri N.K.P. Salve of Congress.
Mr. Salve, let me start with you. What do you expect the President to do next?
Well, what I expect President to do next is what he did the last time, perhaps call for the party which is the highest number of members in Lok Sabha. That's the only alternative to him.
Call for the leader of the party?
Call for the leader of the party.
And who's that going to be?
Oh, well, there is no dearth of talents in our party, and the Congress Parliamentary Party is going to decide upon a leader who knows how onerous and how delicate is the task ahead of us. He'll be a strong...
No dearth of talent. Are you top heavy with leaders, in fact?
No, in fact, we are reasonably balanced on all ends. It's not top heavy, nor is it top at the bottom. But the question is, we realize the responsibility, a very delicate responsibility, very onerous responsibility. And we will, if we do have to form a minority government, then we do know that we have to form a durable government. And a durable government cannot be run only on expedients and gimmicks.
Yes.
Where are you going to get the critical 30 seats from in order to form a government?
No, as I said, it's the minority government I am expecting at this juncture. If your projections are correct, where am I going to get 30 seats? is precisely from where Mr. Joshi ji might be expecting some other seats to come. I don't have any other source other than the source which all four parties of all the four have. But when I say that the president would be sending for the leader of a party with the largest number of members, I do take it that even if your projections are correct, perhaps the Congress party will be the first one to be called.
Mr. Surjit, from your experience in these matters, how long, I mean, the country is waiting now for things to settle down. It's been a long campaign, it's been, the people are pretty tired. They want a bit of certainty on the political front. How long do you think this whole thing will take to settle down to some kind of stability?
It should not take much time, because now the situation is pretty bad in the country. It requires a government. There is no government at the moment. And Salveji has rightly stated, President has no other option but to call the leader of the biggest, largest party in the parliament, and then see that they take the responsibility.
So, you're talking about a week or 3 days or approximately?
No, not a week. Week is too much.
Too long, exactly.
Too long, because the situation is pretty bad in the country. Now we have mentioned about Punjab problem, what is happening in spite of the efforts of all the political parties. They are going ahead with the process and all that. So many other problems are there. Situation is very complicated.
Please carry on.
I wanted to ask Mr. Bomai, what is, you can actually authoritatively state, I think, as President of the Janata Dal, the official position of the Janata Dal towards a coalition with the Congress side, because they are looking for those 30 seats and you are going to have them.
Now, firstly, we respect the verdict of the people, and they have asked us to sit in the opposition, and we will be playing a role of a constructive opposition. So far, talk of coalition is premature in my view, unless it is for the Congress to decide what way, how, whether they want to have coalition, whether they want to run a minority government. All those things are to be indicated by Congress. And if there is any indication, the National Front and the left combined will sit together and take a view on that.
Are you open to the idea of a coalition government with Congress?
No, I am not open to that. But if the situation demands, we will review the whole situation. It is, in my view, too early to answer this unless there is a move.
You are not ruling it out?
You are not ruling it out.
No, if it comes, we will review the whole thing. Because the country is passing through a very serious crisis. Both financial, law and order, all tensions are there. And there should be a government. And that government should be able to give solutions. When you talk of coalition, it's very difficult to answer because there are issues on which we oppose. Whether the party which proposes is agreeable to those solutions.
Are there any common issues, Joshiji, on which your party can extend critical support or constructive support to Congress side?
I don't think so. We would be sitting in opposition. There is no reason and no occasion for...
I think Vinod said issues, particular issues.
Well, you see, whenever there are issues impinging upon nation security, say there is a war, or there is a calamity of an unprecedented magnitude, well, certainly we extend cooperation and support to the government. But as of in day-to-day normal implementation of programs and policies, well, certainly I don't find that there is any reason or occasion to extend any support. But for all measures of national welfare, well, certainly every political party supports.
I think we'll quickly go across to Bombay.
Yes.
Prannoy.
Muralidhar is waiting.
Yes, Muralidhar is waiting over there.
The former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, who has been declared winner from Gulabagh constituency. Mr. Ank, you were one of the leading dissidents attempting to overthrow Mr. Pawar. What made you suddenly mend fences?
Well, I believe what your presumption unfortunately is not very correct. See, there could be internal differences in any democratic setup, which of course our party claims to have. But when it comes to a national disaster or calamity, all the local differences and even national differences within the party get sunk.
But was it a sense of insecurity that made you mend fences with Mr. Pawar?
What exactly do you mean by sense of insecurity?
Because you had the patronage of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. Now the scenario is different.
You mean to say that Mr. Pawar didn't have the patronage of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi? I believe everybody had patronage. He was our leader. We all accepted him as our leader. The question of patronage, if you use that word, if you choose to use it, is rather inappropriate. But if you want to choose it, you are welcome to do so. But then everybody had his patronage, including Mr. Pawar. So there is no question of Antule having patronage and not Pawar.
Did Mr. Pawar's campaigning really help you?
Well, Mr. Pawar's campaigning did help dispel the suspicions created by the PWP candidate who was my main rival, that he had the support of the Chief Minister, which was not true. And Mr. Pawar's presence there and campaign and canvassing was necessary, to that effect. And I think we succeeded, in that endeavor.
Would you have lost had it not been for Mr. Pawar's campaigning?
No, I don't think I would have lost. That nobody, even Mr. Pawar also doesn't think that I would have lost. Even Mr. Pawar wouldn't say. In fact, it was, as I said, only to dispel the doubts created in the minds of the people by against our own Chief Minister. Because Mr. Pawar is a Congress High Chief Minister, and it's my duty as a congressman to see that he is not...
Thank you very much, Mr. Antule. We are running short of time.
Thank you.
On that note, this is H.B. Muralidhara returning you to Delhi.
Thank you very much, Murli. At the moment, this is the first time actually, Vinod, thanks to NICNet, this computer network that we're using, which is a planning commission infrastructure, that we've been able to actually garner some information on votes all across the country. Normally this takes the election commission and other sources at least a week or 10 days to sort out. So we're very lucky, and tonight we can actually review the situation to date about the votes of the different parties across the country. Let's look at the all India vote share of all the different parties. Now this is based so far on 451 leads, and the vote position is as follows. 36% for the Congress side, that's down to about 2% since last time. The BJP 23% coming second, doing extremely well. The Janata Dal 12 on its own. The CPM 6, and others, which is a conglomeration of parties, 23. Now if we compare this with 1989 and look at the vote change or the swing in votes, the Congress, as I said, was down 2%. The BJP, the biggest gainer, almost doubling its votes to 10%. The Janata Dal suffering quite a setback now, really in 3 states, down by 5%. CPM about up 0.5 to 1%, and others down 4%.
पूरे भारत में जितने फीसदी वोट किस पार्टी को गया, ये संभव हो पाया है इस दफे निक की वजह से, जो पूरा एक कंप्यूटर का नेटवर्क है पूरे हिंदुस्तान में बिछा हुआ, हर जिले में है, ये जो प्लानिंग कमीशन का है, उसको हमने इस्तेमाल किया और हमें ये सूचना मिली है कि किस पार्टी को कितने फीसदी वोट मिले। वो सूचना इस प्रकार है, 511 में से 451 स्थानों की जो सूचना उपलब्ध है उसके मुताबिक कांग्रेस आई को इस दफे 36% वोट मिले, यानी उसे 2% का नुकसान हुआ। भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 23% वोट मिले और उन्हें 10% वोट का फायदा हुआ। जनता दल को 12% वोट मिले और 5% का नुकसान हुआ। कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी मार्क्सिस्ट को 8% वोट मिले और 1% का फायदा हुआ, और अन्य 23% वोट मिले और 4% वोट का नुकसान हुआ।
Mr. Joshi, we thank you for coming and joining us again tonight. We did ask you this last night, and you said there was going to be a review. I just wonder whether there has been enough time to review your party's poor performance in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, where you have governments.
Now in Madhya Pradesh, we have also increased our voting percentage. It has gone up. And in Rajasthan, you see, we have maintained almost the same number of seats and also increased our voting percentage. So where is the cause of saying that it is a poor performance?
You weren't expecting to do any better considering you're in government?
No, that's different. You see, this is a different question. We expected to do much better in whole of the country.
I mean, you're by far the smaller party in Madhya Pradesh.
No, you see that in Madhya Pradesh, the voting percentage has gone up, and there had been a shift of votes, transfer of votes from the smaller parties to Congress I.
And not to you.
And not to us. And then in the second round of poll, as you have already seen, there had been a shift of 4 to 10% of votes. Now 1% of shift of votes takes you to 6 or 7 seats immediately. So that makes the difference.
While discussing with Advani ji, we were talking about the strident tones of the campaign, and I remembered I made a commitment to you yesterday. Some parties accused you, your party, of being communal, and right of defense does lie with you. So if you would like to reply, keeping in mind the strident tone of the party campaign this time.
Now you see, I would compare it with the campaign with Janata Dal Chief Minister in Bihar, who had been making statements that he would not allow any opposition party to win, and if one candidate wins, he will not allow him to reach Delhi safely. Now this is the type of campaign which I call as a strident, vigorous, violent campaign. Ours was a very modest, moderate and reasonable campaign. We haven't been aggressive, you see. We have been putting forward our point of view in a very straightforward manner.
Do you agree with the presentation, Mr. Bomai?
I am sorry. Never the Orissa Chief Minister said all these things. Mr. Joshi ji ill-informed.
I said Bihar.
Even Bihar Chief Minister.
Fine, Vinod, let's go across to Trivandrum, where I think we have an interview with EMS Namboodiripad. Could play an important role in the future.
Made this statement, he is already prepared.
The General Secretary of the CPIM, Mr. EMS Namboodiripad, is in Trivandrum, but he has not been able to come across to our OB spot. But we have gone out and recorded this interview with Mr. EMS Namboodiripad.
Now it is all right.
No party seems to be getting majority at the center. How do you propose a solution to avoid another election?
Your question assumes that one party should get a majority. In Indian conditions, what you call hung parliament is the natural thing.
So how do you form the government?
That is for our party to decide. I can't say now.
No, which party will form the government? In this particular situation, in this situation, who will form the government? Which party could form the government?
You see, all these questions of tactics will be decided by our party when we meet.
Will the CPIM think in terms of supporting the Congress side?
No.
Why?
You see, the Congress party wants to have its single party government, which is the most unnatural thing in Indian condition today.
Now, if we have another hung parliament,
Hung parliament, I told you, is natural in India. You think it is something extraordinary.
No.
As a matter of fact, the single party government was the unnatural thing.
So this is natural. This is natural. What is happening now is natural.
Yes. You have to learn to live with the reality. The reality is that the era of single party governments is over.
And now, from now on, what will be the combination from now on?
That is what the parties to decide. How can I dictate terms?
So what kind of a situation can you foresee?
You see, so far as my foreseeing is concerned, I will tell you after our Politburo and Central Committee meetings are over.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is John Ulahanan returning you to Delhi.
Thank you, John. You didn't have some audio. Okay, Mr. Bomai, I wanted to ask you that a lot of the Janata Dal had suffered quite a severe setback in this election. Must be very disappointing results for you. And those people who remain, a large number of them are ex-congressmen. It will be extremely tempting, won't it, for them to return to the Congress party, particularly since they've tasted the spoils of office and they are always extremely tempting.
I don't agree with you at all. There is no question of temptation. Janata Dal is a cohesive unit now. Such people who are temptation have left us. And we are a cohesive group committed to certain issues and programs. There is no chance of that at all.
Sorry. In case that you have to extend support to the Congress party, Mr. Surjit, will it be a smooth process or you expect some hard bargaining to take place? Mr. Surjit,
Yes.
do you expect some hard bargaining to take place, or is going to be a smooth process of extending support to Congress side to form government?
No question of hard bargaining. You see, the Congress is the biggest party. They will have to form the government. And the other parties will have to decide their attitude towards it, and it depends on various issues which they take up, how they tackle the problems which other parties have presented in their manifesto also, whether they stick to their position, all this thing is concerned. No hard bargaining is required in that.
So in other words, should we presume that the support is not going to be conditional if at all it's extended?
I won't say unconditional, but the question is naturally because there are certain problems, very serious problems the country is facing today. Everything depends on how they tackle those problems. You see, if something worsens, further worsens, naturally nobody can count on that support becomes unconditional in spite of the fact that the situation becomes deteriorating further.
Vinod, as you know, we did an exit poll this time, which is within sort of plus or minus 10 or 15 seats of the final result. And we have actually processed some of the data. These are still tentative because it's an exit poll with about 85,000 people where we interviewed as they came out of the voting and asked them who they voted for, what was their age, caste, etc. We want to share some of the findings with you. They're still tentative, they're not final figures, but they do give an indication of the support base of the main three parties. Let's have a look, for example, of the age support base. Now, as far as the Congress is concerned, its average is in the exit polls about 35.5%. Now, you can see in the young group that's up to 30 years old, they've only got 31%. But above 30, they've got 37.6%. Now, that means we are talking about the younger people, in fact, going for the BJP here. The average vote for the BJP in the exit polls about 21%. These are not all the figures. In fact, they are for round 1 and 2 of voting. The round 3 is still coming in today. But you can see the trend here that the young people, 25.8% of them are voting for the BJP. In other words, way above their average of 21. And the older groups, above 30, only 18.7. So the younger voters are disproportionately voting for the BJP. As far as the Janata Dal is concerned, again it's spread much more or less evenly across all groups with a slight bias towards the older groups. But if we go now to the next finding of the exit poll, this is by men and women, by sex. Again, the total vote for the Congress I is about 35. Now, women, 37.3%, that's 2% above the average Congress vote in women voted for the Congress I, and only 34% of men, that's below the average. In other words, women tended to vote more towards the Congress I. In terms of the BJP, it was exactly the reverse. While the average was 21%, 22% of men voted for the BJP and only 19% of the women. And in terms of the Janata Dal, again a more male-dominated party. Average 10.6, men 11.8, but women 9. So women have tended to favor the Congress I in this election, and that's been true historically. Now, if we look about the location and check out the urban-rural spread of the Congress I, it's pretty evenly divided, slightly more in urban areas, but pretty evenly divided. As far as the BJP is concerned, this is quite strikingly an urban party. Although the average is 21%, 28% of the vote in the urban areas went to the BJP, and the rural areas only 18%. So it's far more, 10% higher vote in the urban areas. And the Janata Dal, fairly evenly divided with a slight bias, in fact, towards the rural groups. That's the kind of support base. Of course, these figures will be finalized once the final results, which only took place yesterday, will be coming in, and we'll be publishing those later.
जोशी जी, आपकी पार्टी प्रमुख विपक्षी दल के रूप में उभरी है और पहली दफे पूरे उत्तर भारत में आपकी पार्टी को एक बहुत बड़ी मौजूदगी मिली है और उत्तर प्रदेश में आपकी पार्टी की सरकार बनने के आसार हैं। अगले चुनाव हम ये नहीं कहते कि बहुत जल्दी होंगे, लेकिन जब भी होंगे उस पर आपकी पार्टी सत्ता में आने के लिए किस प्रकार का स्वरूप अख्तियार करना पसंद करेंगे?
हम सारे भारत में अपना संगठनात्मक और विचारधारा का प्रसार करेंगे। हम लोकसभा के मंच का उपयोग अपनी पार्टी के सिद्धांतों को और उन समस्याओं को उभारने के लिए करेंगे जो देश के हित में हमारी दृष्टि से उठाई जानी ज़रूरी है। साथ ही साथ हम देश में उन मुद्दों को देशव्यापी स्तर पर उठाएंगे जो देश को जोड़ते हैं। हम ये समझते हैं कि देश के सामने देश की अखंडता और देश की एकता पर संकट है। हम उसका निवारण करने के लिए सारे देश को एक रखने के लिए सारे प्रयास करेंगे।
आपकी सरकार उत्तर प्रदेश में बनने की संभावना है, बाबरी मस्जिद राम जन्मभूमि विवाद को आप कितनी जल्दी सुलझाने का प्रयत्न करेंगे? किसी किस्म की कोई कमिटमेंट आप देना पसंद करेंगे? टाइम बाउंड?
हमने उसके लिए बहुत स्पष्ट ये कहा है कि हम या इस समस्या को बातचीत अथवा कानून के द्वारा सुलझाने का प्रयत्न करेंगे। और हम पहला प्रयत्न ये करेंगे कि इस राम मंदिर के निर्माण में जो बाधाएं डाली गई हैं राजनीतिज्ञों के द्वारा, उसको हम दूर करें। हमारा ऐसा विश्वास है कि अगर इसमें बाकी राजनीतिक पार्टियां वोट बैंक की अपनी क्षुद्र नीति को त्याग दें तो समझा बुझा करके भी सारा काम किया जा सकता है, समस्या का निवारण किया जा सकता है।
Vinod, we have a short interview with Biju Patnaik, which we tried to get earlier. Let's see what he has to say. This interview was recorded a short while ago, about 2-3 hours ago, before he flew to Delhi. And here's an excerpt from that interview.
Every likelihood of a hung parliament in the centre, which party would you support, or your party support, in the centre to form a government?
My party will only work together with a party which has similarity in policies, programs and attitudes.
Which party would that be? Can you specifically name?
I believe the Congress party's programs, policies are akin to the policies and programs of our party.
Have you received any offer from Congress so far?
It's too early to talk about offers and counter-offers.
Thank you.
Mr. Bommai, we're talking about, that's probably the most clearest statement yet from some member of your party. Do you agree what Mr. Biju Patnaik said? Do you agree with that?
I don't agree. Because we have got basic differences with Congress policies. And
but that also means you've got basic differences in your party.
no, you see, Biju Patnaik always in a easy manner makes certain statements, but he will abide by the decision of the party.
Are you defending Mr. Biju Patnaik or trying to explain his stand, or I think
No,
he clearly
no,
said that
I'm not defending or attacking him. You know him and the elderly man. But when we discuss the issues in the party, he will ultimately abide by the decision of the party.
would you advise us to not to take him seriously?
I don't say it is for you. I don't say advise you at all. Hello. Then I must say, because of the differences, we are a different party. There may be approach may be common, but we have got a difference of opinion so far the issues are concerned.
And these may unfold over the next few days, as we say.
No.
One of the questions that has been asked throughout this election, I think, Mr. Joshi, you were referring to it, and it's something we've talked about earlier in this program, I mean, about earlier today, is the difference in voting patterns between the May elections and the June elections. And we'd like to go through some of that evidence to see what we have so far. Now, if you look, for example, at the states which were divided, which had part of the election in May and the rest of the election in June, we do see some startling trends that emerge. For example, let's look at Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, the shaded area there is the May voting, and the rest, in other words, the west of Rajasthan, is the June voting. These are 15 seats, in fact, went in May and 10 in June. Now you see the difference for the Congress side. In the May voting, there's a 1.6% increase in the Congress side since 1989, but in June, it's 14.3% up. We're talking about an 11-12% difference between the two. That may not wholly be just due to the Rajiv Gandhi assassination, but it certainly has some bearing on it. There's no doubt about that. Because if we go across now to Madhya Pradesh, again the shaded area is the May voting, where 28 seats went for elections, and the green area in the south is June voting, where 12 seats went. And here you see again 4.8% up in June, while the Congress vote 4.8% up in May, while in June the Congress vote went up almost twice that, at 10.5%. And again, the evidence carries on in Uttar Pradesh, where the northern part of Uttar Pradesh, 43 seats, which is marked green there, went to vote in June, and the shaded area went to vote in May with 39 seats. And here too, although the Congress votes have sunk dramatically, in the May vote, it sunk by as much as 14.5% since 1989. But in June, it held out a little more. It held out to the extent that the drop was only 5.1%. In other words, a 10% less drop. So In all these cases, the Congress certainly seemed to do better in the June voting, in the post-assassination period of Rajiv Gandhi, than in the May voting. And one of the reasons we've been toying with this idea of the sympathy factor, which doesn't seem quite to fit into the picture. And some of the evidence we've been putting together appears to be that if you compare the turnout in the two periods, there's at least a 7 to 8% turnout increase in the June elections compared to the May election. And it looks as though the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi tended to jolt the Congress supporters, and particularly the women. We've seen that a larger number of women voted for the Congress side, jolt them out of a kind of apathy. There was a low turnout in May, slightly higher in June, particularly in these comparative positions, and that seems to be much more of a reason than just a sympathy vote.
Mr. Bomai, keeping in mind the dismal performance of Janata Dal all over India, do you think there's a need for change either in the policies or in the leadership of the party?
It is absolutely necessary to introspect the election results. We'll have to apply corrective measures, and the party will do that.
Could you give us an indication as to what kind of corrective measures are there going to be?
No, I can't give you details today. Political Affairs Committee is meeting tomorrow, National Executive will meet. We will discuss in detail.
So Sujit, some of these figures which tended to show the Congress doing better in the June voting, did you notice that in your campaign? We did see in the BJP a kind of running out of steam and changing their stance and sort of emphasizing a different factor, and a slight demoralization is too strong a word, but a difference in their aggression in their campaigning before and after. Did you notice a difference?
It was noticeable, not to the extent it has happened, but it was very clear. You see, it has happened last time also. This is a very big tragedy, and this was used also for election purposes. So that is why naturally in different states it has affected, and naturally it has to that extent it has increased the voting strength of the Congress side.
I'll give you one bit of further evidence which we haven't processed fully yet. So it's on Andhra Pradesh. Now in Andhra Pradesh, the May vote only about 14 or 15 seats went, and a lot of results have just come in on the June vote. Now if you look at the May vote, the Congress won 4 out of 17 seats. The Telugu Desam won 9 out of 17. That's the May vote. Today's results show that out of 25 seats, the Congress has got 20. So from 4 out of 17, it's now getting 20 out of 25. A sizable increase. And NTR's fast obviously didn't have such a great impact to counter that.
I think we can go across to UP, where
Yes.
Pankaj Pachauri has something for us. Let's see if the UPOB is ready.
उत्तर प्रदेश के भूतपूर्व मुख्यमंत्री श्री नयन दत्त तिवारी एक बार फिर विपक्ष में बैठने की तैयारी कर रहे हैं। हमने अभी उनसे एक बातचीत की है, लीजिए प्रस्तुत है ये बातचीत। तिवारी जी, उत्तर प्रदेश में कांग्रेस पार्टी की हार के पीछे आप क्या कारण मानते हैं?
ये जो कारण है इनका विश्लेषण तो अभी करना होगा, लेकिन एक बात जो स्पष्ट है वो ये है कि पिछली समाजवादी जनता दल की सरकार को जो हमने समर्थन दिया था वह हम लोगों को पूरी समझा नहीं पाए, शायद पूरी तरीके से, या लोग समझ नहीं पाए कि किस आधार पर हमने समर्थन दिया था।
आपका कहने का मतलब है कि आपको समर्थन भारी पड़ा यहाँ पर?
ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि जिस तरह से लोग हमसे उस समय कहते थे कि आप समर्थन मत दीजिए, और उसको शायद लोग भूल नहीं पाए। अयोध्या की जो घटनाएं हुई और सारे प्रदेश में जो उसमें घटनाएं हुई, फिसाद हुए, दंगे हुए, उस सब से एक ऐसी स्थिति बन गई जिससे कि लोगों में एक ऐसी भावना हो गई कि वे भारतीय जनता पार्टी की तरफ झुक गए।
अच्छा, केंद्र में कांग्रेस आई को बहुमत तो नहीं मिल रहा है, लेकिन वो सबसे बड़ी पार्टी बनकर सामने आ रही है। आप कैसी सरकार चाहेंगे केंद्र?
ये बहुत ही स्वागत योग्य है और राष्ट्र हित में है कि कांग्रेस को उत्तर प्रदेश और ऐसे ही शायद बिहार को छोड़कर इतना भारी बहुमत मिला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि कांग्रेस की एक स्पष्ट बहुमत प्राप्त होगा और एक प्रभावशाली सरकार जो कांग्रेस का चुनाव घोषणा पत्र है उसके आधार पर एक अच्छी सरकार कांग्रेस बना सकेगी।
प्रधानमंत्री पद के लिए आप किसी का समर्थन करना चाहेंगे या खुद दावेदार?
ये तो इसमें मेरे दावेदार होने का सवाल ही नहीं है, चूँकि मैं वहाँ नहीं हूँ, पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी का सदस्य नहीं हूँ। ये तो जैसा पहले भी कहा गया था, कोई दावेदार नहीं है। ये तो अब कांग्रेस पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड की आज बैठक हुई होगी, आपने सुना होगा, और कांग्रेस वर्किंग कमेटी और फिर कांग्रेस पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी वो तय करेगी कि किसको नेता बनाया जाए। मुझे विश्वास है कि इसमें कोई किसी प्रकार का कोई
उत्तर प्रदेश में आप किस
पारस्परिक विरोध नहीं होगा।
उत्तर प्रदेश में आप किस तरह की राजनीति करेंगे?
उत्तर प्रदेश में भी हम विरोधी दल में बैठेंगे और विरोधी दल का जो सक्रिय रूप भाग अदा करेंगे, और हमारा ये पूरा प्रयास होगा कि जनता की आवाज़ विधानसभा में गूंजे और बाहर भी फिर अपनी बात को हम कहेंगे, और जो जनता की जो दृष्टि में जो कांग्रेस की जो छवि है उसको फिर उभारने की कोशिश करेंगे।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद तिवारी जी। और इसके साथ ही मैं पंकज पचौरी आपको स्टूडियो वापस लिए चलता हूँ।
सालवे साहब
जी,
आप लोगों ने जनता दल की सरकार और समाजवादी जनता पार्टी की सरकार की परफॉर्मेंस को बहुत अच्छा नहीं माना कांग्रेस पार्टी ने, और उसके बावजूद फिर जब श्री राजीव गांधी की हत्या हुई, उन दोनों चीज़ों के बावजूद आपकी पार्टी की परफॉर्मेंस को बहुत अच्छी नहीं रही है पूरे हिंदुस्तान में, एक मेजॉरिटी की तरफ भी नहीं बढ़ पा रही है आपकी पार्टी। इसमें क्या गारंटी है कि आपकी पार्टी के अंदर अंदरूनी झगड़े नहीं होंगे और दरबार कल्चर नहीं होगा?
नहीं, ये तो कोई गारंटी नहीं है। शायद ही कोई ऐसा दल हो जिसमें कोई अंदरूनी डिफरेंसेस ना हो। वही हमारा दावा नहीं कि अंदरूनी डिफरेंसेस नहीं है। मैं फिर भी
ये योग्यता तो नहीं हो सकती किसी पार्टी की अंदरूनी?
नहीं, बिल्कुल योग्यता नहीं है, और ये एक कमजोरी है जो कि हम लोगों का सबका हर स्फीयर में, भारतीय चाहे वो आकाशवाणी में हो, चाहे दूरदर्शन में हो, चाहे पॉलिटिक्स में हो, वो इस तरीके का अंदरूनी खींचतान चलती है टांगों की, और ये ठीक नहीं है और इसका भी परिणाम होता है। तो ये बात तो मानने में कोई मुझे कष्ट नहीं है।
क्या आज के दिन कांग्रेस आई सक्षम है सरकार बना पाने में?
सक्षम तो कांग्रेस आई जरूर है, क्यों नहीं बना पाएगी, मगर ये है कि अगर हंग पार्लियामेंट एक वास्तविकता हो गई है आज के आज के पॉलिटिक्स की, तो हमारे डेमोक्रेसी को, प्रजातंत्र को एडजस्ट करना पड़ेगा और एक ऐसी सरकार बनानी पड़ेगी जो ड्यूरेबल हो, जो चल सके। महज गिमिक और एक्सपीडियंसी की सरकार हो तो नहीं चल पाएगी।
I just wanted to ask you that how much will the current results of this election affect you? What impact will it have on the leadership issue?
Well, it is going to have a very substantial impact because in some states we have been mauled very badly. In some states we have done fairly well, and in some states we have done very well. We will have to do some very honest introspection and heart searching as to what is the reason that we have not been able to do well in some other states, because
Sorry, I think what I meant was that will your leader actually be determined from those states which have done well this time, or could it come from anywhere?
Actually, I was coming to that.
Sorry.
Mr. Pran Roy. What happens is ultimately the leader will be decided upon by the CPP, and it does not matter which state one comes from or whether he is a member of the CPP or not. The criteria for a leadership this time, we know, has got to be a leader who is a very strong leader, a dynamic leader, and a leader who will not merely command the respect and loyalty of the party members, but also get a sustained respect of the supporting parties.
Yes, I think this is the right point to try to go across to the Congress I headquarters and see for ourselves as to what's been happening there.
At that informal CPP meeting.
Informal CPP meeting. Yeah.
Most of the leadings are known and election scenario is almost clear. Most important question perhaps at the moment is as to who is going to lead Congress I party in Parliament and in the states where it has won. The highest decision-making body of the Congress party, Congress Parliamentary Board, met this evening, perhaps to take stock of the situation and to discuss these very issues. We have with us Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, who was there in the meeting and who is perhaps the only General Secretary who is member of the Congress Parliamentary Board. Mr. Azad, what did you discuss there?
Well, we had a 2-hour-long parliamentary board meeting, the first time after the elections have taken place. The results have, since the results have started coming in, we took stock of the situation and mostly we discussed the post-election scenario.
What else? I mean, I'm talking about the leadership issue. Did you discuss the states where you have won the election?
Well,
in assemblies.
As far as the states are concerned, we have decided that within a day or so, we'll be deciding the dates when the election of the leadership will take place in different state headquarters.
Talking about Congress legislature
party, and we'll be also deciding about the observers. Those will be sent to different state headquarters to elect the new leadership.
And what about center? Who are you going to elect the leader here, and when? And how?
I think it is still too early because the election process is still on. As soon as the election process is complete, we might meet again. The Central Parliamentary Board might meet again, maybe tomorrow itself, to discuss the complete issue.
You mean to decide the date as to when Congress Parliamentary Party?
Exactly.
And what has been the tradition in your party? Can you elect somebody as a leader of the party who is member of neither one house or this house, or who is not a member of any house?
Well, I think in the democracy you can elect anybody. It is totally within the purview of the members of the parliament. When in the past also we have some precedents like this, that the members have been elected as prime minister or even chief minister or even ministers without being member of the both houses.
And what about the states where your party has done well, in the states which are opposition ruled? Are you going to demand dismissal of those states or their resignation, those governments?
Well, I think it is too early to say anything, but I think it is for them to decide whether they would like to resign themselves.
At this note, it is Prabhat Dabral taking you back to the studios.
कांग्रेस आई के हेडक्वार्टर में श्री गुलाम नबी आज़ाद ने बहुत ही मौलिक बात कही कि अभी इट्स टू अर्ली टू से एनीथिंग अबाउट द लीडरशिप क्वेश्चन। बहुत ही ओरिजिनल बात है और श्री सुरजीत का भी कहना था और बहुत से पार्टिसिपेंट्स का ये मानना है कि समय बहुत कम है और जल्दी से जल्दी फैसला होना चाहिए। श्री गुलाम नबी आज़ाद का ये भी कहना था कि ज़रूरी नहीं कि जो भी नेता चुना जाए सीपीपी का, वो लोकसभा का सदस्य हो या राज्यसभा का सदस्य हो। ऐसे मौके पहले हुए हैं जब न तो लोकसभा न राज्यसभा से सदस्य किसी बड़ी इस तरह की पोस्ट के लिए चुने गए हैं। ये कितना सत्य है, कितना असत्य, कितना ठीक है, कितना गलत, इसकी जांच बाद में। और आई थिंक नाउ वी कैन गेट बैक टू आवर पैनल एंड ask Mr. Salve as to what kind of a democratic practice is this to postpone the inevitable?
See, what I was meaning an adjustment, adjustment of the type, you see, until the 8th Lok Sabha, we had a single party rule, and excepting for the 1977 when Janata Party came, we were the government went through the entire tenure. 4 years, 5 years. It's only last time, after 89 elections, we had to go back to the hustings again in 1.5 years' time. Now again, we don't want the same situation to come. There are pitfalls as a result of which the two governments collapsed. It is those pitfalls we've got to avoid, and the main pitfall, I think the very big hole which we need to avoid is, when we do take support of some party, there has got to be some meeting of the mind. There has to be some basic issues, and we must agree to work together for the larger interest of the nation. Unless that is done, I think anything else will not give us a durable government, which is the need of the hour.
Mr. Joshi, I wanted to ask you, your party has really been the biggest gainer in this election, in terms of votes certainly, but perhaps way below your expectations in terms of seats. What's pleased you most about this election, and what's been its most disappointing aspect?
Well, the best aspect of this election is that we have spread our party all over the country, and the largest state of India, that is Uttar Pradesh, has expressed its total confidence in BJP. And now that the BJP has emerged as a very powerful national party, as a strong pole in Indian politics, and the message which the BJP wanted to convey has been well received. To that extent, I'm happy. Now I'm a little disappointed in the number of seats, as you have rightly pointed out, and especially the response in West Bengal and in Kerala, where we have not been able to transform our electoral support into our legislative support. That has been those two areas, those two states where I feel that we should have done better, though we worked hard and we didn't receive the full.
We have an OB report from Ahmedabad with one of your most spectacular or star-studded candidates. Let's go across to Ahmedabad OB.
The trends for the remaining 3 parliamentary seats in Gujarat show that the swing is clearly in favor of the BJP. For such a favorable swing in the BJP, it had to work on its Hindutva card to its advantage, fielding 3 candidates from the teleserial Ramayana, Sita or Deepika Chikalia being one of them. Deepika, basically you are a TV star. How do you see yourself in your new role as a politician?
Well, the first step towards politics has been very successful. I thank my voters, all the voters of Baroda, from all my 7 assembly seats. I'm very thankful to them for giving me the success, and I will definitely strive very hard to solve all the problems and prove to be a good member.
Did your role as Sita in the TV serial help you in the initial stages of campaigning?
I think you're very appropriate with your words initially, yes. Initially, it did make a little difference. When we went out for our rallies, when we went out for our Lok Sampark and Sabhas, possibly I think that somewhere along the way people had this image of Sita in their mind. But gradually, as soon as we started visiting all our assembly seats,
तकनीकी कारणों की वजह से हम आपको ये इंटरव्यू पूरा नहीं दिखा पाए, इसके लिए हमें खेद है। जोशी जी, मुझे याद आता है जब इलाहाबाद में उपचुनाव हुए थे, जब श्री विश्वनाथ प्रताप सिंह वहाँ से चुनाव लड़े थे, तो आपकी पार्टी और जनता दल दोनों ने इस बात को क्रिटिसाइज किया था कि रामायण के ही राम अरुण गोविल वहाँ चुनाव प्रचार के लिए क्यों गए। आज सीता रामायण की उनको देखकर ये सवाल आपसे मैंने
जो श्री अरुण गोविल जिस रूप में प्रचार करने के लिए गए थे तो बड़ा हास्यास्पद था। वो धनुष बाण लेकर राम का रूप धारण करके और गांव में जाकर के उन्होंने, कांग्रेस वालों ने उनकी आरती निकलवाई कि भाई ये राम जी आ गए।
हमने दीपिका जी को कमल का फूल हाथ में लेकर देखा है।
वो तो हमारे चुनाव का प्रचार चिन्ह है। और दूसरी बात, दीपिका जी एक कैंडिडेट थी, वो सीता का रूप धारण करके और अभिनय के रूप में नहीं गई थी। वो तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बड़ौदा से विधिवत कैंडिडेट थी, उम्मीदवार थी। बहुत फर्क है इसमें। एक में रामलीला का नाटक कर रहे हैं और एक में रामायण सीरियल का अभिनेता चुनाव लड़ रहा है।
सालवे साहब बहुत अम्यूज हैं इस बात से।
एक में ड्रामा है, एक में असलियत है, ये कहने का उनका फर्क है। बात एक ही है।
I wanted to ask Mr. Bomai something in terms of, I want your reaction to something which another party leader of yours said on our program earlier this evening, Mr. Hegde, Ramkrishna Hegde. He basically said that he felt that the Janata Dal will have to relook at its attitude and its alienation of the middle classes. And it shouldn't have done that in this campaign, and some relook at the Mandal issue, number one. And secondly, he said rather sadly that he hinted that he's quitting politics. At least he said he's going on leave preparatory to the retirement from politics. What's your reaction to both these statements?
Firstly, so far the issues are concerned on which we went to the people during the election. They are the right issues, but the approach, the modalities and other drawbacks could be reviewed by our party. And I'm not disappointed by results. If we get about 55 or 60 members in the parliament, it's a very big number.
But only from 3 states in the country.
It's all right. But we have been in the opposition when we had only 5 members in the parliament. When we had 2 members, thereafter we have built the party. In 1980.
To actually boost, to compare yourself with a really low position to try to boost your morale is a little extreme.
A party with 60 members in the parliament can play a very constructive role and build the party. There is no that way disappointment for me.
What about on the retirement as a personal loss to the Janata Dal?
Perhaps it is an immediate reaction. I will talk to him. It may be immediate reaction after the...
You think you can bring him around?
I think so.
Will you be able to bring Mr. Biju Patnaik also around?
Always he has come around. There is no difficulty for me. Because
Mr. Surjit, can I ask you, you talk about the gravity of the crisis that India is facing and that has never been through such a problem, and that you would consider issue by issue support to the Congress, but you prefer to sit in the opposition. One of the key things which most people seem to feel now is that it's such a serious crisis that the country will have to go to the IMF. What would your party's position be on that? Do you think it's inevitable to go to the IMF now?
You see, it's very difficult to say. The main question is not going to IMF. Main question is that you have landed yourself to such a position where you have to accept such conditions which will mortgage your freedom. That is the main concern. So the problems, other problems also are there, but it is the question of bargaining, because when 81 also Congress started taking the IMF loan, going to it, we had criticized it. We had warned of the dangers. Not question of loan alone. The question of the conditionalities which you have to accept, and then you will not be independent to formulate your own budget. That is our difficulty. So therefore, it is not the only problem.
But this is the reality now. You are in a position where you really are in a desperate fiscal crisis. You need to tide over your balance of payments problems. You need to go to the IMF. They are going to impose conditions. What is the CPM going to do? What's its stand going to be on the IMF? Is that going to be a breaking point or not?
That also, you see, depends on how do you bargain. Do you bargain on the basis of equality, or just you surrender? The way the last government has been doing, it was a position of taking a surrender position. So I would like to simultaneously work for alternative resources from our country, then try to get some other resources from the Indians abroad, and then later on negotiate with them too on the basis of that we have something. Now they see we are bankrupt and we have to beg definitely, and on the basis of that when you negotiate, result will be very disastrous. We can't support that of thing that accepting the conditionality, then we support it. And then naturally on these issues, so far other issues are concerned, situation I would not agree, Salveji has not answered the question of leadership. You had posed the question of it cannot be delayed very much. Other issues can be discussed, you see, that is what I would not agree with.
I don't think the IMF loan can be delayed very much actually. I think all the other options that you've mentioned,
that is other thing
people have been flying around the world trying to get any money, and now ratings are dropping every day, and basically export credits, a whole lot of factors are dependent.
True.
And nobody is advancing credit to India at the moment.
But so that also Salveji has to take responsibility, because they had brought this.
But if I understood from what you said was that under certain conditions you wouldn't be totally, you can understand India going to the IMF even now. Under certain conditions, after having tried all other options.
You see, in the present situation which we are in, I would not say that we are totally opposed to going for any credit. The question is, we will oppose the acceptance of conditions. When the recent budget was presented, we forced them. We cannot agree to this. Then it was modified. The way it was accepted, adopted by the parliament there, that some way can be found about that. That the economists can help in finding out a solution to that problem, how we have to tackle the problem. On that we have to put our energies. And so far we are concerned, I want to make it very clear, we and the National Front will go together, and we are discussing among ourselves what course we have to do. We want stable government to come into existence, because the challenges which are there before the country are so grave. And we have held the opinion from the beginning that on such issues a common consensus has to be evolved. They are not party issues, they should be treated as national issues. Earlier the Congress party was neglecting totally that question. Now they have to reconsider this position, and they have to take a position that on such issues we have to come to, concerning national unity, concerning the unity of the country, all these issues we have to come to a common understanding and then take a stand on that.
I think we can go over to Balia, where we have Brajesh Kumar waiting for us to report from there. It's a voice report from Balia, Brajesh Kumar.
बलिया में मतगणना का काम काफी धीमी गति से चल रहा है। हालांकि मतगणना का काम शुरू हुए लगभग 20 घंटे से अधिक हो गए हैं, लेकिन अभी तक कुल 4 चरणों के ही परिणाम सामने आ पाए हैं। प्रधानमंत्री श्री चंद्रशेखर चौथे चरण के अंत में अपने निकटतम प्रतिद्वंदी कांग्रेस आई के श्री जगन्नाथ चौधरी से लगभग 25,000 मतों से आगे हैं। श्री चंद्रशेखर पहले ही चरण से अपनी बढ़त बनाए हुए हैं और उनकी बढ़त का यह सिलसिला जारी है। चौथे चरण के अंत तक श्री चंद्रशेखर को 56,238 मत प्राप्त हो चुके थे। उनके प्रतिद्वंदी श्री जगन्नाथ चौधरी को 37,081 मत प्राप्त हुए हैं। बलिया संसदीय क्षेत्र समाजवादी जनता पार्टी के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण स्थान रखता है। प्रधानमंत्री श्री चंद्रशेखर के अलावा उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार के 3 मंत्री राज्य विधानसभा क्षेत्र के लिए अपना भाग्य आजमा रहे हैं। बलिया शहर विधानसभा क्षेत्र से चुनाव लड़ रहे विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी मंत्री श्री विक्रमादित्य पांडे कांग्रेस आई के श्री काशीनाथ मिश्र से लगभग 2500 मतों से आगे हैं। जबकि कोपाचीट विधानसभा क्षेत्र में ग्राम विकास मंत्री श्री गौरी शंकर भैया अपने निकटतम प्रतिद्वंदी जनता दल के श्री अंबिका चौधरी से लगभग 592 मतों से आगे चल रहे हैं। उधर चिलकहर विधानसभा क्षेत्र में प्रदेश के फलोद्यान मंत्री श्री राम गोविंद चौधरी जनता दल के श्री चंद्रशेखर सिंह से कड़े मुकाबले के बीच चल रहे हैं। इसी के साथ मैं ब्रजेश कुमार आपको वापस नई दिल्ली ले चलता हूं।
ये थी बलिया से रिपोर्ट जो आपने अभी सुनी। मेरा प्रश्न आपसे ये है कि आप चारों इस बात पर सहमत है कि देश की हालत बहुत अच्छी नहीं है, संकट का समय है ये एक तरह से और बहुत पतली हालत है। आई वॉन्ट अ रियलिस्टिक रिप्लाई फ्रॉम यू ऑल इफ पॉसिबल, एज ब्रीफली एज पॉसिबल, कि ये संकट का समय कितनी देर चलने की उम्मीद है? जोशी जी आप बताएं, कब तक चलेगा
ये इस पर निर्भर करता है कि देश की राजनीतिक पार्टियां देश के संकट को कितनी प्रमुखता देती हैं और अपने राजनीतिक स्वार्थों को कितनी प्रमुखता।
आप राजनीतिक पार्टियों से वाकिफ हैं अच्छी तरह से?
हाँ, उसके आधार पर मैं ये लेकिन मैं देश की जनता से भी वाकिफ हूँ और मेरा देश की जनता पर बहुत विश्वास है। और मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ कि जब संकट बिल्कुल मुंह बाए सामने खड़ा हो जाता है तो भारत की जनता, जिसके अंग भारत के राजनीतिक दल भी हैं, उसका सामना बिल्कुल जम के करती है।
Now the country is passing through such serious crisis. The need of the hour is every party and every leader will have to rise above partisan and personal considerations and approach the issues on the national interest.
I asked for a realistic reply as to how long will it take us to tide over the crisis, Mr. Surjit?
It is difficult to say because the party which forms the government, that will have to decide. But what I mean, every party, whether in the opposition or in the ruling party, will have to apply mind and take a quick decision, and the country can't wait.
It cannot be said, you see, how long it will take. But it will be very wrong to defer this question. As soon as it is tackled is better. Otherwise, we'll going to further mess and mess. And it will be very difficult to tackle the problems later on. The situation is so grave today.
And the international eyes are focused on India, Mr.
Yeah,
Sawant.
Everybody.
You're absolutely right. Speaking about IMF, just take half a minute. There's nothing wrong in going to IMF. But the conditions which we have created for ourselves, the shambles in which we have brought our economy, we had to go almost lie prostrate before them. How are we talking of equality? It is that we want to rectify. But to answer your query, how long will it take? I'm afraid I don't accept with the premise itself. The efforts will involve continuous working for the welfare of the people, getting rid of the problems, and it's a continuous process. We can't lay down. We can't lay down in a week's time or a 10 weeks' time or a year's time. It's to be done unless we dedicate ourselves.
But about 100 days.
No, we have given certain programs of different days, but we have never said that will take care of the entire problem, Joshi ji. What I am saying is, it's a serious matter. All the parties are conscious about their responsibilities, and I do hope we do apply ourselves to the basic issue of solving the various problems, the economic problem, the law and order problem, the security problem, in a realistic and a pragmatic manner.
Before Vinod takes us out with the final headlines, I want one last forecast from each one of you. When will the next elections be? Mr. Joshi.
It can be any time after 2 years.
2 years. We'll be holding you to these forecasts and reminding you next time around. Mr. Bomai.
It is very difficult to say.
But have a bash, have a guess, have a bet. Are you not a betting man?
I'm not a betting man because the situation is very fluid.
So would you put it 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
Not before 1 year.
Not before 1 year, 1 year. Sujit.
We would not like the election to be held soon because the problems are to be tackled and people are fed up with the elections. They have shown the whole graph how the polling has been low. Apart from the season, this consideration, apathy of the voters has been there, and we should try to work out certain things, there's some consensus on some important issues and try to tackle the problems of the people and gain their confidence. We should not hurry up for the election.
I think the politicians are also tired of a summer election in any case. It won't be before.
It is very difficult.
But do you think it's going to be a 5-year term?
5 years may not be. It also depends on the realization and how the new government functions, how they tackle the problem. It depends on that. It can be 5 years too.
Could be. You put it as 5 years.
No, I don't put it in 5 years. I am saying that it could be. depending on how you tackle the problem. If you are not able to tackle the problem, maybe
We
it
wish,
force on you.
we wish it should be 5 years.
Everybody wishes 5 years, but
That's
what's your best
different.
estimate, Sujit? Because I do want to get this one figure out, which I shall hold you to whenever it happens. What do you think? 2 years, 3 years?
No. Immediately elections are not. You see, 2 years before that holding of the elections, nobody would like
Not
to
less
enter
than
into
2
that.
years. Fine. And Mr. Salve, you are really now.
Yes.
You have to be careful what you say because
Yes.
you're in the driving
Yes.
seat.
Therefore, I would be reluctant to rush where the angels would fear to tread. But I do feel that seeing things as they are today and seeing the added sense of responsibility which all the political parties are showing, it should be anything between 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. Most optimistic as far as I'm concerned from all of you. Vinod.
हमारे नेताओं की कला है, कर्तव्य है, कार्यवाही है कि घोषणा पत्र में, मैनिफेस्टो में टाइम बाउंड प्रोग्राम होते हैं कि 100 दिन में महंगाई खत्म कर दी जाएगी या कम कर दी जाएगी या रोक ली जाएगी और 1000 दिन में अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट दूर कर दी जाएगी। लेकिन जो मौजूदा संकट है ये कितने समय में हम बाहर आएंगे, इस पर हमें स्पष्ट जवाब नहीं मिला। बहरहाल इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य समाचार इस प्रकार हैं। तमिलनाडु विधानसभा में डीएमके 226 में से केवल 1 सीट जीत सकी, वो श्री करुणानिधि की। कांग्रेस आए व उसके सहयोगी दल 235 लोकसभा सीटें जीतने की ओर। जून के मतदान में कांग्रेस को ज्यादा समर्थन मिला। त्रिशंकु संसद स्वाभाविक परिणति है श्री ईएमएस नंबूदरीपाद के मुताबिक। और कांग्रेस आई और जनता दल को